Today I'm going to talk about how the wealthy get wealthier and ultimately how to change your mindset to think properly, to start looking at opportunities differently, and to stop being poor. So we all know that poor stands for passing over opportunities repeatedly. And if you're not experiencing growth with financial assets, or if you're not taking advantage of what we have right now in front of us, then I want to invite you to look at what opportunities you're taking advantage of, as well as what are you feeding yourself. Now, it all first starts with awareness, and the awareness that the Fed just printed about 40% of all US dollars is a big indication that there's no shortage of money, and that really comes down to the opportunity that you align yourself with. And so I want to introduce you to a concept, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't, but it's something that I've been exploring really deeply, and it's called first, second, and third order thinking. And this is really used to be able to identify, the opportunity, the events that happen, to then line yourself up with the opportunities that could follow and have a whole ripple effect across an industry or a sector. So I want to go over an example of what this looks like, because we just had a perfect example of this with Facebook. It's now known as Meta. As they're going deeper into the metaverse, there's implications of how that ripples throughout industries, sectors, and ultimately different areas of the space. And so when you have an event like that, where Facebook just announces that they're changing their name to Meta and they're going to go deeper into that space, well, let's look at the first order implications. That announcement comes up. That means that billions of dollars are going to go into the space, and they're going to develop their own economies, they're going to develop their own worlds, and they're going to develop a lot more in that space virtually that people cannot touch. Okay, we got that. Next thought that that we had is that, okay, if that's going to happen, what projects and companies are currently lined up in the metaverse that are probably going to receive an influx of capital and investment based off of that announcement? Okay, now Facebook does that. We just saw Decentraland and Sandbox right here blow up like crazy about 2 days after that announcement came out about the metaverse. And so if you positioned yourself, you saw that announcement and you saw where it could have trickled, you could have taken advantage of the short-term game. Now, second and third order implications is typically more long-tailed. And so that was the first one. Now we can see, and I don't know if this is to be true or what's going to happen next, right? This is just my prediction and what I'm thinking. Second order thinking is, okay, if more people are going to be in the metaverse, then that means that we're probably going to have more of an experience with digital currencies, digital wallets, and digital assets. If we look at what Facebook has, or what Meta has now, they have their own Libra project. That was their cryptocurrency in-app wallet, etc., that they rebranded to Novi. That's going to be integrated with Messenger, with WhatsApp, and with all these things to connect into the metaverse. And they hinted at this inside of the program, inside of the video that they announced. So if we have that, if we have the digital assets and the platforms that are going to be integrated, what will Facebook buy? Right? Is Facebook going to buy, companies that are already in the space? Are they just going to buy crypto projects? Like, where is the delineation between the two? So now we look at, okay, if that's all going to be integrated, what is going to actually happen to the next phase of humans, right? Are humans going to go buy houses? Are they going to go actually migrate anywhere? Or are they going to stay in their apartments or in their homes that they're renting or that they've bought, and they're just going to stay there, and the economies that are locally aren't really going to thrive as much anymore, given that metaverse is already a thing? So I think this has a multi-phase rollout, and if we look at second order, I think the next implication is going to be, what does the habitual habits look like with the person? So if they're not going to be going out as more, maybe they get more depressed, or maybe they have less social interaction because they're in metaverse. Well, now what's going to happen with medical? What's going to happen with bio? What's going to happen in that space, right? And this may be 6 months to 2 years down the road, but what's going to happen with that? Are we going to get this prescribed now different medications based on so much, health data that's coming out about how you're spending too much time on your phone or too much time in the metaverse? What's going to happen there, right? So we can look at it from a bio standpoint, like what studies or what companies need to be formed in order to look at that. And then thirdly, I think third order is going to be regulation. Who's going to control the metaverse? Who is going to regulate the metaverse? Is it going to be a private company? Is it going to be government that has to step in? What's actually going to happen here? Because the economies that are happening inside of Decentraland, inside of Sand, and parties that are going on, the exclusivity, all the stuff, people are just tapping into this more. And we're going to see some sort of change in that. And the rapid pace of technology that we have now, I do believe that more people are going to go in the metaverse, that there's going to be a lot more health products that Big Pharma is going to try to push out around what what the metaverse is going to do, and then lastly is the regulation. Now that's all just one line, right? Those are all the big monster companies that are going to have a line across this. Now let's look at the short-term and immediate courses of order. We have metaverse, and we have people that are going and tapping into this virtual reality. Then we could have, NFTs cross over, and now the skins that we have in Fortnite and other games and all that stuff can translate to physical hoodies that can translate into the actual world. So what brands are going to need to either be developed, or what brands are currently that are out there need to develop their own technologies in order to actually translate status to metaverse, right? So you can go down the fashion route, and you can see how NFTs play a big role. Now, what platforms do NFTs need to play in that in order to see fashion, status, clout, etc.? And what is that going to look like in Meta? That's another aspect. If we go down another line of second and third order thinking, metaverse is coming out. Where is the housing market going to go? Are they just going to go to these states that have low income taxes, etc.? Or are they going to stay? What's going to happen? Because when you look at the economies inside of there, these companies are going to be benefiting from the economies, and so are they going to move their headquarters? What are the jobs going to be? I know right now we're seeing a lot of migration to Texas, to Florida, and to Arizona, and so they're probably going to stay there. Texas, I think, is just going to boom, and Arizona is just going to boom with more development, more office space, etc., to house these kind of companies. But looking at this all from the perspective of real estate migration, looking at it from another perspective of health and regulation, and another one of what's actually happening in the metaverse, are all different lineages that you can go down and actually look at how this progresses out. And so when you do your research and when you do your first, second, and third order thinking based off a big announcement, you can start to position yourself into those opportunities and into things that you actually think are going to play out. Take some time, write it out, really think that if it's going to happen, what players are going to be involved, who's going to stop it, who can try and stop it, or what the next progression is going to be to see how you can position yourself. Now, again, do your own research. This isn't financial advice, but those are some of the things that I'm thinking about and I'm looking for in the metaverse, and how that kind of rolls out with first, second, and third order thinking. So that allows you to not pass over opportunity, and that allows you to try and put yourself ahead in a sector, in an industry, and again, have context and contrast before making any investment decisions. But I hope that helps and gives you some value and some context on how to look at those decisions. And if you did find value, go ahead and like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.